Coming live from our studios in Belize City, this is the Evening News on Love Television for today, Tuesday, 13th of September. Let's get started with a look at the stories making today's headlines. Cabinet supports Senate Select Committee to investigate Auditor General's report. Opposition says government cannot dictate composition of committee. BDF commander speaks of recent excursion to Sarstoon Island by Guatemalan nationals, and Belize receives assistance to strengthen climate resilience in its energy sector. Cabinet has decided to support a Senate Select Committee to investigate the findings of the Auditor General's Immigration Special Report. Originally, the government preferred to have a bicameral Joint Select Committee to oversee the investigation, but this position was reversed after the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Belize Council of Churches expressed their support for the Senate Select Committee. A release from the government states, and we quote, "Cabinet is also persuaded by the fact that a seemingly substantial portion of the public apparently prefers the Senate to conduct the hearings, and by the further fact that the ultimate objective of holding such hearings will be served by either of the two routes on the table. There is thus no need for Cabinet to insist on its own preference for the bicameral method." End of quote. Cabinet also has agreed that one of the social partner senators should chair the committee, and Senator Mark Lizarraga does not have the support of Prime Minister Dean Barrow. This evening, President of the Public Service Union, Eldred Neal, told Love News what matters most is that the investigation be conducted in an unbiased fashion.
Very much interested in the convention as it relates to anti-corruption. We are for all those issues, and in fact we're especially interested in this special investigation. We are very much in favor of that. In fact, we have a senator represented by us equally through NTUCE, and in fact whom we'll be sitting and having a number of discussions with on that matter. We have looked, myself personally, I have studied the standing orders from the Senate to look at the whole question on the compromise, on the makeup of the Senate Select Committee. There's one position that I want to hold and I want to put out there. We want an investigation, and whichever body is going to give us a thorough investigation, and when I say thorough investigation, we're talking about having a report that may come out that may speak specifically and whether it is may have a bias from the government side, as one group is suggesting, or it cannot be Senator Lizarraga, as is suggested in the press briefing that I've listened to. That doesn't matter to me. All right? What we want is a report that will be tabled, and whether it comes from a majority or a minority, a report will come out, and it will be left to us as Belizeans to properly police the system as to ensure that follow-up and justice comes out of the report.
The government prefers to see that the committee be made up of 3 social partners, 1 from the opposite party and 3 from the government, as proposed by the Council of Churches and the Belize Association of Evangelical Christians. The People's United Party also weighed in on Cabinet's position on the Senate Special Select Committee inquiry into the Auditor General's Special Audit Report. The opposition has taken issue with the composition of the committee, saying that Cabinet cannot dictate who makes up the committee. The PUP points out that the Senate Standing Order number 69 specifically states, and we quote, "The Special Select Committee shall be appointed by order of the Senate, which will specify the terms of reference of the committee and shall consist of such and so many senators as may be directed by order of the Senate." End of quote. The PUP prefers to see the committee composed of 1 member from government, the opposition, the unions, the business sector, and the churches. The Belize National Teachers Union has been pressuring the government for their 3% salary adjustment, but a release from the office of the Prime Minister suggests that will not happen this year. According to the release, Prime Minister Dean Barrow received a formal communication from the Joint Unions negotiating team. That letter was a response to government's request for consideration of a deferral of the third tranche of the salary adjustment until April 2017. The Joint Unions negotiating team is made up of the Association of Public Service Senior Managers, APSSM, Public Service Union, PSU, and the Belize National Teachers Union, BNTU. According to the release, APSSM and the PSU voted yes to the deferral, while the BNTU voted against it. PSU President Eldred Neal told Love News that they did not categorically vote yes for the deferral, but rather for the consideration for the deferral.
The PSU members did not vote yes as per se, tabled down and fully accepted for deferral. PSU members looked at the conditions that were also tabled in the meeting with public officers and the joint union. I mean, there was a number of things that we're looking at. We are very cognizant of the growing concerns with the issues in the country. So one of the things we looked at offhand was, one, the cost-saving committee for its recommendations to be looked at and implemented. And in fact, the PM had agreed on that. We looked at the revenue committee. We understand austerity measures. We spoke on the fact that we would want to see sacrifice occur not only amongst officers, but across the board, from ministers, CEOs, senior managers, everybody. We understand the financial implications, and we are in agreement that the austerity measures has to be across the board. To put it out there as to say PSU particularly just agreed on that, no. We have members who are openly giving us their stance, their position. As a joint union, we collectively sat in and we wanted for the joint unions to address the matter collectively. And while our colleagues would have presented the information time and again, that was against her to what we would have agreed on collectively as the joint union. So that's the reason why we have stayed out. It's not that we have accepted. The briefing that we had with the PM post-Earl was to ask us to do the deferment, and we assured him that we were going to come back to a consultation. Our decision now is going to take us back to consultation with the Prime Minister, and that allows us grounds for negotiation. Yes, for the consideration of the deferral, but that deferral comes with a number of stipulations, and those stipulations were brought up from the first time we were asked about this matter.
Prime Minister Barrow has asked the Joint Unions negotiating team to meet with him once more on the matter, with the hopes that common ground would be found. A group of Guatemalans conducted an excursion to the Sarstoon River 2 Saturdays ago with the same objectives as the excursions to the south carried out by the Belize Territorial Volunteers. The group was observed to have checked in with the Guatemalan military base at the Sarstoon. Commander of the Belize Defense Force, Brigadier General David Jones, spoke with Love News and related what happened.
Belizeans and Guatemalans have equal access to the river. What we have in place at the moment is when Guatemalans are going into the river, they report at their military base, inform the Guatemalan military what they're going to do, and then they're left alone to go and do as they wish. And it's the same if any Belizean wants to go into the river. They report to the Belizean forward operating base, and then they should be left alone as well to do what they want to do and come back out. It could become a concern if the Guatemalan group and the Belizean group goes there and they have any confrontation with each other. That we would prefer to avoid until we have a protocol in place that will avoid all this, so that both Belizeans and Guatemalans would have an understanding how things are supposed to operate in the Sarstoon. If it's in writing, both governments agree to it, then all citizens would abide by it, and there should be no issues after that.
Commander Jones stated that although the group is following protocol and there is no immediate threat by the group carrying excursions, a clash between the Guatemalan group and the Belizean group of nationals could be a concern.
I don't have any complaints in regards to these people because it is an area of dispute. It's not settled yet what is going to happen. both governments of Belize and Guatemala are still negotiating, trying to reach a settlement, and also trying to at least establish a protocol in the Sarsoon River. Until that is done, I'm not too concerned about what is happening, because the military and the Belize Defense Force are working closely with each other to ensure that there is no tension in the area between civilians as well. Belizeans and Guatemalans should have equal access to the river and respect ecological and maritime laws that should be in either in international boundary or local waters for any forces. But that is something where our foreign affairs would have to iron out with them what we'd really like. But we like both citizens to have equal access to the river and enjoy the resources equally.
Commander Jones stated that to avoid any confrontations, protocol should be set for citizens of both countries to have equal access to the Sarsoon River.
This is the second trip that I'm aware of that these people went to the island. They're behaving the same way as we have our group from Belize with Mr. Wilmy here, wanting to show their sovereignty in the area of the Sarsoon River and in particular on the island. Their aim is to rile up Guatemalan citizens to fight for what they believe belongs to them, and they believe that Belize belongs to them. The southern part of Belize belongs to them, and in particular they say they will start with the Sarsoon River and the Sarsoon Island. So that's the reason why they were in that area. We observe them, but we don't speak to them, we don't interfere with them, because they were checking at the Guatemalan base, inform the Guatemalan military what they're going to do, and then they go about, do their business, spend their time there, and then they leave.
Would that be crossing into Belizean waters then?
Well, it would be considered Belizean waters if they go to the north of the island, and as they believe that that is still in Guatemalan waters. So that is something disputed that should be ironed out by our foreign affairs, because as far as we are concerned, yes, they came into Belize, and as far as they are concerned, that they are in Guatemala. So it is something for our foreign affairs to iron out.
Jones stated that this is the second excursion of its kind conducted by Guatemalans to Sarsoon Island. Tensions between Belize and Guatemala have de-escalated since this April, when a confrontation between the Belize Defense Force, the Friends of Conservation Development, and Guatemalan peasants at the adjacency zone on the western border resulted in a miner's death. According to Commander of the Belize Defense Force, Brigadier General David Jones, the militaries of both countries, which have to work alongside each other at the Sarsoon, have gone back to enjoy a cordial relationship.
What are the relations between the BDF and the Guatemalan Armed Forces zone there since the tensions started to de-escalate and the OAS report came out, the investigation reports have come out?
Well, our relationship continues to be cordial. We've had a meeting with them recently, and we've not had any tension between us and the Guatemalan military, so things continue to be cordial between the BDF and the Guatemalan forces. The tensions before was because of the stance from their foreign affairs that we should not be going into the river. Since the negotiations that we had with them, things have de-escalated. They don't interfere with us going into the river anymore. It was only directive that was passed to them from their government. That direction is not there anymore, so there is no interference with us. The meetings that we have with them recently is to plan patrols that we do with them on a quarterly basis, where we meet up with them along the border, we exchange information about instances or security issues that are along the border. So that continues, and it was a very cordial meeting.
Although military leaders have met, Commander Jones stated that they have not discussed the issue of the OAS investigation, which exonerated the BDF from causing the miner's death. With Guatemalan excursions to the Sarsoon Island becoming more common, Brigadier General David Jones spoke on the BDF patrols that keep watch over the southernmost part of the country. He stated that they have reinforced the BDF presence there.
Express how often we go in there for security reasons, but we do conduct checks in the area, we do patrols in the area, especially for legal activities that would occur on the north of the island, if anything is happening on the mainland. But we won't express how often our boat patrols out in the area for security reasons.
But there is BDF presence out there?
Yes, we do have BDF out there at the forward operating base, and they do conduct checks whenever we tell them to.
Belize Defense Force personnel are based at the forward operating base close to the Sarstoon Island. 51-year-old Juan Carlos Ucros Alvarez, who was born in Colombia but later nationalized in Guatemala, was charged for environment damages by the Department of Environment and for negligence and carelessness by the Belize Port Authority based on the Merchant and Shipping Act. Alvarez is the owner of the yacht named Rumba that crashed into the barrier reef in the area of Hatchet Key on September 3rd. Love News has confirmed that the vessel left Belizean waters last Thursday en route to Guatemala. A task force comprising of the Department of Environment, Immigration and the Belize Port Authority was sent to the area to assess the damages done to the reef. We understand that the assessment concluded that Alvarez caused $31,000 in environmental damages. We also understand that the matter was settled out of court, and in most instances no less than 65% of the value of damages must be paid. As for what caused the mishap, a source told Love News that the vessel was traveling towards the sunlight and the captain was not seeing clearly where he was going. 8 persons were on board and they were in Belize for a recreational visit. As Melissa Ferguson remains out on bail and her spouse, William Mason, is on remand at the Belize Central Prison, Ferguson maintains innocence in the allegations of kidnapping and murder being faced by them. In an interview with Love News, Ferguson says that she and Llewellyn Lucas were engaged in plans for children camps, and the news of his death was actually devastating and shocking to her.
Devastating. Lou was, somebody asked us specifically, Jesus Castillo asked us, please hire this man. He needs a job, he's down and out. He told us he was a millionaire in the US and he came here and he lost everything to an ex, and he was trying to rebuild himself here for a couple of years. He was welcomed into our household. He and I were especially excited because he likes to be I wanted to do something with camps here, and Lou and I were working on something that we were both very passionate and excited about, and we presented this to my husband. My husband started to bring in people that we would be able to do that. Lou told us that there's different ministries that would be able to assist with that in the sense that if you invest in the people and provide those opportunities, they would support it. We never got there, and I learned at the same time as everyone else on the news what happened and who it was, and it was devastating. I spoke to my husband. He is completely shocked. He doesn't know anything about it. That day he came to the house, Jesus Castillo said, please give him some money. He's down and out $1,000 or something. That he came to the house to get the money at the last minute, and we had deposited money for him before to assist him. It's awful what happened. I don't know how this could have happened, and we are as upset about it as everyone else.
You all deposited in his account or you gave him personally?
Both.
So you helped him more than once, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, he was not an employee, but because originally Jesus asked us to hire him for the ranch. So he arrived on a Monday morning, and my husband said, go and tell him I'm busy and he can work with the other guys. He had no desire at all to do any manual labor. And he said he had to leave. He had to go to a meeting. When I said, you know what, we're just a small group here. We all help out, and these guys will get you to do something, because we thought we were originally hiring him to be a laborer. So he left, and then as my husband spent time with him, that's when he said he lived in the US for these years and he could do certain things, and that's where that whole thing went from there. But Lou never did any manual labor, and he wasn't an employee. He would have been paid on a commission basis, but he was having a hard time, so in the meantime he was given some funds to assist him with his expenses. And I don't know, but apparently there was some people that were after him, which is why Jesus said, please can you give him some money, because somebody's after him. And that's all I know from that day, that he came for some money.
Lucas was murdered on Friday, July 15, with his head found in a bucket in the back of a pickup truck belonging to William Mason. According to Ferguson, this entire incident has been life-changing as they have faced exile, harsh criticisms, hate, death threats, and burglaries.
It's been turned upside down, but I'm not worried about everything that's been taken. Those are just things that can be replaced. I just want the truth to come out, and it really hurts when I see all the evil that's being spoken with us. When I go to the prison and visit him, people are like, she knew what her husband's doing. People are really being evil. There's a lot of threats on my life. There's a lot of threats. Yesterday I filed a police report. Shortly after that, the Facebook apparently blew up. I'm not even on there. And they deserve it, and they stole money. There's so much negative talk, and I just have to stay focused and know we didn't do anything wrong. And my husband he's in shackles. He looks, this man that does anything for everybody. They're telling me that they're doing it for him, for his own safety, so we'll have to go with that. And honestly, we've been treated fairly there. There's been no issue there. We have to try to understand how this all happened and focus on the future and trust that the system and the truth is going to come out.
Ferguson says that the judgments have been harsh, but she maintains her innocence in the entire Lucas homicide. She says she has spoken to her husband at length on the matter, and she stands behind him as they believe that this was a setup.
Like I said, it's so hurtful how people could turn on you. Those that were involved know that's not the situation. We're not bribing anybody. If people ask, I have a wellness and medical tourism foundation. We're about living a healthy lifestyle. If you have a sports team, then what's wrong with giving a little bit of money to assist with shoes or whatever they need those funds for? My husband is so passionate about sports. He was so excited about doing all of these different things. Nothing evil was ever intended. I don't know what to say to people. I'm beside myself, and I just have to keep believing that the truth will come out.
Mason, along with several of his workers, remains on remand for the Lucas murder. The Public Morality Commission, the announcement of its formation has caused quite a stir in the court of public opinion. It is a body that is being put together to look at various areas, including the gender policy, with an aim at revising what is agreed upon. The commission will be made up of several representatives of the various churches. Prime Minister Dean Barrow explained what the commission really is and how it will work.
Because our discussions threw up a number of issues leading to some shared concerns, it's also been agreed that we will set up a church-state commission to be chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister to, in fact, look at issues having to do with public morality and its role in our society, having to do with the institution of marriage and safeguarding that institution. Government believes, it's the shared position of all of us, that marriage is between a man and a woman. And so say, as I said, so say all of us. The whole question of how to protect family values in an inclusive society, all those weighty matters would be within the provenance of the work of the commission, which would undertake studies, be guided by lawyers, and which would consult the general public in order to come up with a set of recommendations that we could all agree to implement, whether by way of policy operationalization or legislative enshrinement. There's a working group that will meet on the 26th that will then come up with the terms of reference and the composition of the commission to take that work forward.
Bishop Philip Wright of the Anglican Church weighed in on the matter of public morality, saying that they are a very interested party in looking at the issues.
One of the things that matters a lot to us is the whole idea of public morality and who ultimately determines that. We know that the legislature is the one that will pass the laws that will affect our sense of public morality, but that ultimately our people, our society, our citizens will give a sense of what public morality ultimately is. And we want to be a part of that discourse as a church. And we welcome the opportunity to do that. Further as well, I want to say, as I end my remarks, that we wholeheartedly welcome this idea of a church-state commission to continue to look at issues that affect us as a people, especially again in the area of morality and what we as a society will agree is morally right and morally wrong. And the work of that commission, I will say to you, is going to be very important, because today it may be the issue of sodomy or homosexuality or whatever term you may want to use, but there are so many other moral issues that we as a society and a country and a community will have to deal with. And this might have been the one to raise it to a public discourse, but there are many other issues coming along, and we better find ourselves in a position to respond appropriately.
As for the Methodist Church, Reverend Roosevelt Papalut has endorsed the forming of the commission.
We are also in support of that Church-State Commission to look at the implications that the ruling may have on society in general. And we are on board with that first part of the work that is being set to begin on the 26th of September. At least that sums up the position of the Methodist Church.
As said, the commission is meeting on September 26 in Belize City to work on its terms of reference. Among the members are the Catholic, Evangelical, BAEC, the National Evangelical Association of Belize, the Methodist Church, and the Alliance Group. The World Bank has approved an $8 million grant from the Global Environmental Facility to assist Belize to strengthen the climate resilience of its energy sector. Among the results to be achieved by the Energy Resilience for Climate Adaptation Project in Belize are improved capacity for long-term energy planning, taking into account the impact of climate change, better monitoring of weather and localized impacts of climate change through the installation of meteorological and hydrometeorological stations across the country, enhanced electricity supply security despite weather events by strengthening the transmission network and reducing the likelihood of service disruptions, improved preparedness through the design and implementation of an emergency response and recovery plan for the power sector, and revitalized communication network of the power company, ensuring better command and control coordination during response and recovery operations. Sophie Certain, World Bank Country Director for the Caribbean, is quoted as saying, "Building climate resilience is a key priority for Belize. This project aims to support the government's continued efforts to make energy and power systems better prepared and more resilient to storms, hurricanes, and natural hazards." The project will also include $3.9 million counterpart financing from the Government of Belize and the Belize Electricity Limited. A scenes of crime technician is being investigated for tampering with the blood sample of Dean Dawson. 6 months ago, Dawson was knocked down and killed by Press Office Director Dorian Pakeman, who has been placed on unpaid leave after Assistant Commissioner of Police Edward Broster revealed that Pakeman's blood specimen had tested positive for cocaine. Dawson's blood sample was taken when the autopsy was being conducted at the Carl Hughesner Memorial Hospital and later transferred to the National Forensic Science Service. In Ladyville yesterday, Broster told the media that the blood sample had a concentration of ethanol, which is impossible for any human being to consume. Broster is pointing fingers at a scenes of crime technician who works for the National Forensic Science Service. Director of the National Forensic Science Service, David Henderson, spoke on the matter.
Personally, I don't know exactly what Mr. Broster is talking about, because then what I was made to understand, I know that the autopsy was done on the Friday. I know that the Caesar crime man work over by the police station with them. And we have to see how the exhibit was stored over there prior to coming to the lab anyway. An investigation needs to be conducted in order to, before fingers are being pointed. No? Well, one of the things that will be happening now, because since it has gone that far and fingers are being pointed at this time, definitely I will really carry out an investigation, because then this matter needs to be cleared up, and I could say clearly that when it comes to the lab, whatever the result is and whatever was brought to the lab, I know that it is quite clear everything was done in accordance, and there is nothing shady or nothing funny from the lab part of it, but I cannot say what happened prior to coming to the lab, and that we need to be cleared up. I can speak for the lab part of it. I cannot say what happened prior to coming to the lab. I cannot say what happened prior to, but because it is out there and there is allegations, we need to carry out an investigation in order to really know exactly what may have occurred and to really allow the chips to fall where. This is the first time. I know this is nothing maybe new for the police, but this is the first time we have had that since coming to the forensic. Personally, we don't have nothing to hide, and what I think, there must be a full investigation that is quite clear.
No charges have been filed against Pakeman in connection with the incident. The Ministry of Health and Pan American Health Organization today held an opening ceremony for a 4-day workshop. Correspondent Fem Cruz stopped by and has the story.
The Pan American Health Organization, in conjunction with the Ministry of Health, this morning at the Vaccine Center Conference Room here in Belmopan, held a ceremony to officially launch the second phase of the Index Green Assessment 4-day course here in Belize. Pablo Marin, Minister of Health, spoke to Love News about the aim of this 4-day course.
We are lucky enough that they had more funding, and they implemented now this course and this initiative of a smart facility here in Belize. According to what I heard from the High Commissioner, we're going to get about 5 million pounds. So depending on how we work along. But the aim is to have our facilities ready for any kind of disaster. That is one of them. You know, anytime any hurricane comes, it will tend to damage your building, your facility. So we have to look at all of those things that are happening in our facility. We have to see how the structure is for us to be able to repair it and fix it, for it to hold a hurricane. We also are looking at green. Green is saving about the lights, the consumption of water, how we will work with our facility for us to be able to save money, and that is the safe and green environment of the facility. So that is what we are going to train right now, the people. We're going to train building constructors. We're going to train our nurses, doctors, our engineers, for them to look at all of those part of the component that leads us to a safe and healthy facility. I need to thank the UK for giving us this grant, I want to thank PAHO for helping us implement this, and I want to thank my ministry for having that force for us to be able to work and come along with this project.
This is Brother Fem Cruz reporting from the Western Regional Hospital here in Belmopan for Love FM.
While Belize is waiting for the Guatemalan Congress to ratify going to a referendum to determine how to move forward in their claim over Belize, the Guatemalan La Hora Online News is reporting that Congress is looking at their migration code instead. The migration code covers international immunity for certain members of the Guatemalan government and issues diplomatic passports to certain ministers. This proposed amendment to the Guatemalan Migration Code will now look at almost 200 others gaining diplomatic status and subsequently international immunity. The online article expresses concern over such a move, saying that it could start the trafficking and smuggling of humans and products, which the article says was done in the past. According to the article, the former foreign minister for Guatemala, Carlos Molina Mencos, had addressed the issue, saying that this move could lead to misuse, abuse, bribes, and smuggling because of its international immunity factor. He added that those who possess a diplomatic passport are exempted from having any record at the customs ports, as was evident from way back in the 1960s when a diplomat was caught in New York, as well as in 2013 when a Congress employee was caught smuggling sea corals and where relatives of former First Lady Gloria Torres were caught taking undeclared monies into Belize, suspected to be for further distribution. On Thursday night, the annual tribute to Belizean patriots will take place. 20 Belizeans will be awarded for their services in various sectors. Receiving the Order of Distinction will be Taiwanese Ambassador Benjamin Ho and Jane Usher. The duo will be honored for their distinguished service to Belize. Receiving the Meritorious Service Award will be Sister Josefina Lamia for her contributions to religious life and community service. Lucio Alcocer for contributions to music, Lester Gilbert Ely for contributions to philanthropy, Lottie Paulino Flores for contributions to education, Alicia Andrea Harrison for contributions to social service, Stephen Humes for contributions to education, Geraldine Mai for contributions to community service, Mario Moshamp for contributions to environment and conservation, Dalila Norris for contributions to humanitarian service, Mavis Felicia Nunez for contributions to nursing and health, Brad Patico for contributions to music, Nelson Robinson and Albert Pappy Smith for contributions to sports, Beverly Swayze for contributions to community service, Brother Carl Swift, SJ, for contributions to religious life and community service, and Maria Elena Sylvester for entrepreneurship and community service. Honored posthumously will be Vilma Bailey for contributions to nursing and health, Danny Konorky for contributions to public security safety, and Pedro Guerra Mena for contributions to politics. Excuse me. Governor General of Belize, Sir Colville Young, will preside over the proceedings and bestow the awards. In the wee hours of Saturday morning, hundreds of revelers are expected to partake in the unruly behavior that comes along with J'ouvert. This is what happened last year, and what also happened was that more than 30 house water meters were broken by the revelers, causing customers inconvenience and Belize Water Services money. To prevent this from happening, BWS partnered with the organizers to keep the water flowing. Hipólito Novello reports.
For the past few years, revelers of the annual J'ouvert have been causing problems for Belize Water Services and its customers.
Having customers out of water is not our business. Actually, to keep our customers connected, and I believe last time that was a challenge for us where customers' meters were broken, and you know how that goes sometimes too, because people can end up with a high bill, etc., and go through the whole frustration of having to come in and explain and go through all of that.
According to the public relations manager for BWS, Hayden Brown, last year, more than 30 household pipes were broken. Revelers targeted pipes that were along the route and outside customers' yards. To prevent this from happening again this year, BWS is sponsoring water outlets throughout the Juve route.
We have also put in place and talking with the committee that we would like to have people who are actually controlling those water points, who will be turning on, turning off the water, because I believe it's only necessary, like the water to be turned on, for example, if they're on Central American Boulevard, when they're there. When they move on, then there is no need for the water to be on. So it should be a practical thing where people are maybe washing off or whatever as they go along the route. And that's what we foresee happening.
How would you answer the criticism to those who don't partake in such events, especially during September celebrations, that the company is simply just wasting water?
We have varying customers who pumps or pays their water bill timely and contribute to our well-being as a company. And like I say, at this point, the company feel it that it's good to give back to the community, and it's a part of our giving back to the community at this point in time.
And if you will be part of this year's Juve on Saturday morning, you are asked to revel responsibly.
We know the celebration time is here. Even our workers, if it's not necessary, these guys are not called out, but when you have 30 meters broken, you can understand that even additional crews have to come out and do extra work. And now, when we talk about repairs, remember most of our streets are not paved anymore, they're cemented. So imagine we have to be breaking cement to repair a line. We just ask, like I said, we really appeal to our public to be responsible, just have fun.
Reporting for Love News, I am Hipólito Novello.
Work has been completed on a number of streets in Belmopan. We join correspondent Fem Cruz for more in this report.
The Social Investment Fund and Emir Hernandez Development Company, along with the Belmopan City Council, conducted a technical walkthrough of streets completed in the Muzzle Creek area of Belmopan. This walkthrough was to determine any small correction needed to be done before handed over to the Belmopan City Council. Love News spoke to Ernest Raymond, project coordinator for the Belize Municipal Development Project.
We are conducting a technical walkthrough to determine practical completion of the works that were done on some 5.5 streets here in Belmopan. Those streets are Roaring Creek Street, Mussel Creek, Halova Creek, Garbert Creek, Wall Street, and half of Barton Creek Street. The streets essentially have 2 layers of chip seal with drains, markings, speed bumps, and these streets are intended to make life a lot easier for residents in this area in terms of access to appropriate roads with all the safety precautions. In particular, sections of the streets are being provided with safety barriers and safety grills, those sections having rather deep drains. The project is now completed, and in this technical walkthrough, we will determine whatever few items of work that were not completed and or needed correction. Those corrections and those items to be completed should be finished by September 23rd, at which time we will hand over the completed works to the Belmopan City Council for their care and maintenance.
Louise Willis, the Deputy Mayor of Belmopan, spoke to Love News.
On behalf of the City Council, I would like to say thank you to the Social Investment Fund. We are very happy to be part of this walkthrough, and on behalf of the people of Belmopan, I want to say thanks to SIF. We are seeing that the streets are looking beautiful, and this is what the people of Belmopan is asking, and again, thanks.
This is Brother Fem Cruz reporting from the nation's capital for Love FM.
Members of the Gang Suppression Unit rained down on a house in the Kings Park area yesterday evening, where they confiscated over 300 grams of cannabis. As a result, 6 men were arrested and charged with 2 counts of possession of a controlled drug with intent to supply to another. Intelligence had led the GSU to raid the home located on 7th Street in Belize City, where it is suspected that marijuana is peddled. 67-year-old Arthur Higgs, Sr., and 34-year-old Arthur Higgs, Jr., as well as 22-year-old Tevin Middleton, 24-year-old B.J. Kelly, at the opening of the Supreme Court in January this year, which states that once a matter has not been prosecuted within 9 months, it must be struck out. A Belizean organization of Chicago, USA, made a generous donation yesterday to Punta Gorda Methodist School. Correspondent Paul Mahong tells us about it.
The donation, including financial contribution and an assortment of needed items, were handed over to PG Methodist School Principal Florence Ramclam and School Council Representative Divine Lopez by Belize Educational Fund and Day in the Park Committee Business Manager Marta Perdomo Taylor.
The PG Methodist School was selected by a survey that we did on Belize in America, asking for schools in the area that they think is in need of the donation. We do this donation every year, and prior years it went to Grace Primary School, Holy Ghost School in Dangriga, and we've helped the Salvation Army School, helped Stella Maris, and we also did some stuff in Orange Walk for the Guinea Grass primary schools. Donation this year that was given to the Methodist School was $1,000 US, and this was raised from the funds of Belize Day in the Park this year.
Marta Perdomo Taylor was accompanied during the presentation of donation by Belize Educational Fund and Day in the Park organization member Gladstone Taylor and marketing director and publisher of Belize in America, Cyril Garcia, who spoke of the Belize initiative in Chicago.
This is the 36th anniversary of the Belize Day in the Park in Chicago. I've been actively working with the committee for over 4 years now, and it's an absolute pleasure to be a part of this great initiative. I also want to mention it was unfortunate during this last event that there was an incident that occurred, but for those who attended, we are actively searching for a new venue, and we've gotten a lot of great comments about the event, and the people don't want it to stop. So we're here in PG delivering the check to the Punta Gorda Methodist School, and this is a way of saying thanks to everybody, and a personal thank you to all the artists who participated during the Belize Day in Chicago. I would also like to add that each and every individual could contribute to this initiative by following us. We are documenting this entire journey. So to keep in touch with what we're doing, you could go on the Facebook page, that's Belize in America, and you could also check out the website at belizeinaamerica.net to keep in touch with what we're doing.
On behalf of PG Methodist School, Principal Florence Ramclam expressed words of gratitude.
On behalf of the Methodist management, the principal, the teachers, students, parents, I'd like to say a big thank you to the Belize Educational Fund in the U.S. Thanks for such a kind donation to our school, a check of $1,000 and some school supplies that we will be used here at our school.
The visiting officials, Gladstone and Marta Perdomo Taylor and Cyril Garcia of Belize Educational Fund and Day in the Park organization, were appreciative of the warm welcome by students, teachers, and principal, who were all touched and grateful for the timely, generous donation. This report is sponsored by Belize Spice Farm in Golden Stream, Toledo, where its restaurant is offering 25% discount on Belize Independence Day buffet lunch and also 15% discount on its Spice Farm educational tours. The management and staff of Belize Spice Farm restaurant wish all Belizeans happy independence celebrations. Reporting for Love News, Paul Mahone, Punta Gorda.
Joan Sankey has been a diabetic patient for 25 years. She has regularly kept up with the medical and nutritional demands of the disease. 6 years ago, her right leg was amputated. That did not discourage Sankey. Still, she did the best she could. She tells us some of her story.
I'm a diabetic. So when I'm pregnant with my son, we're 25 right now. They discovered that I had the diabetes and then tell me after I done got the baby, the diabetes going, but you know, gone.
Since when now is your vision going?
My vision, like what, last year, because I start to say, bro, right? You say, but like you have to do your eye like this every time. I take my medication every day, and like 6 years ago, I get my feet amputated. In my family, because like I said, my auntie, that like the same thing like me, she had diabetes too, and for she too, I me gone blind. Like 4 months after this one, no, they see nothing at all. And then only this one with a laser. Then I see how tight, then afterwards you like lone blur vision.
Sankey was approved by the BCVI to travel to Guatemala to receive medical services for her eye. The medical services alone are a total of $1,200 US. Apart from that, she will need to spend 2 weeks in Guatemala. She appeals to the public to help her recover her vision.
I just always tell myself, like I always say, Lord, you know, I really wouldn't want to lose my eyesight. And like know that this happened to me. I sometimes I don't worry so all the time, but most of the times when I sit down by myself, I worry about it. I still try to do things to myself and so, you know, but most of the time I really worry about it, you know. So I ask the public in any way, any assistance that they could give me, please, for make I could get back my eyesight. I would really appreciate it from my heart.
You can help Joan Sankey with any donations at Atlantic Bank Belize City Branch account number. The account number is 911-565938. Or you can reach Sankey at number 664-9084, 664-9084, or 622-6322, 622-6322. The family is grateful for any assistance provided. Belizean reggae artist Ras Indio has been on the musical scene for quite some time now. He has released several singles and music videos. Back in 2009, he released his music video, Dem a Fraud, which speaks about the corrupt practices of politicians. Given the current climate, Ras Indio decided to re-release the song, but an acoustic version of it.
Constantly people ask me, when I release our next song pertaining to the situation. So I decided to go right back into the files, and we revamped it, this time along with a guitar player, you know, who is new to the musical scene. His name is Brandon Romero. So I couldn't bring him in this morning, but he said he wanted to let the people know that he enjoyed playing. You know, it's the first time he's ever been recorded in a studio. So it's a good thing, and it's a great inspiration, you know. So when you hear this version of Dem a Fraud, it's more about the lyrics, and it's more for you to intake the words on a different level.
Talk to us about the target audience you would want to enjoy your music.
Well, it's the world, you know. That's why we revamped it this way. It's not reggae. It won't be pushed in a little roots reggae section. It won't be pushed in any section, you know. So with this new release, which is actually a worldly, I have to label it as a worldly genre in a CD Baby, because it's already on iTunes. You can find it on iTunes and CD Baby, and you can also buy it on Reverb Nation, and the video is out on YouTube, you know, so you can go and check it out. And basically, like I said, it's for the world.
While down here, so the people still are complaining, yeah. Say them are help the poor people, but say we are so still away.
Ras Indio also shared his upcoming travels.
As always, we represent Belize again. We got the Belize Day, the first annual Belize Day in Dallas, Texas. Gonna go over there and represent alongside Taprick and a few other Belizean artists. I don't know everyone name for name. Some of them are out of Dallas. Dynamite is one of the artists I did a reggaeton song back in the past, you know. So it's gonna be a treat to go into Dallas and perform for the first time, and to also blend up with the Belizeans who they in Dallas, because I believe the people from Houston will be coming over and San Antonio. Belizeans, we scatter all over the globe, The next show, following day, I'm going to fly over the following day into LA and perform that night, September 18th, Sunday, at the Street Festival in Inglewood, California, courtesy of Farron and TBZN. All right, that's a local TV station in Belize. You can find them online. They show Belizean videos all day long, After that, I want to come back home, enjoy my birthday with my family, for the 23rd. And after that, then I want to head to Petén. First time again in Guatemala, San Francisco, Petén. I want to hear partial members of the Tribal Vibes Band. And we're going to mash up Guatemala. Bring unity between we, you know what I mean? Because that's what music always do.
We have to repeat, Ras India will be the headline artist for the September 30th Reggae Fest in Petén, Guatemala. Our thought conditioner for today is from Ernest Agyemang Yeboah, and it reads, "The change we want is within us and shall always be within us. The change we can have is in the steps we can take to realize the change we want. Take a step if you want a change." This has been the Evening News on Love Television. We invite you to log on to our website at www.lovefm.com for transcripts of our news stories. Thank you for watching. I am Ernesto Vasquez.